Level 1. Trash. Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton tried to make the leap from tabloid fame to the big screen with House of Wax in 2005. The problem? She didn't act. She just played Paris Hilton with a different name. Her character Paige felt more like an extended cameo than an attempt at creating someone believable. Critics roasted her performance, calling it flat, awkward, and almost distracting. But here's the thing, audiences showed up just to see her die on screen, and that became the film's biggest talking point. Paris leaned into the self-parody, even promoting the tagline, "See Paris die," as part of the marketing campaign. It worked commercially, but it highlighted the truth. Her value in film wasn't talent, but shock factor. Hilton represents that category of celebrities who cross over into acting without ever really embracing the craft. She never trained, never disappeared into a role, and never convinced anyone she was someone else. Her screen presence was more like a wink to the camera, saying, "Yep, it's me, Paris," which might work in reality TV but collapses in scripted cinema. Megan Fox. Megan Fox's breakout role came in Michael Bay's Transformers. Her smoldering looks and chemistry with Shia LaBeouf made her a star almost overnight. But when critics weighed her actual performance, they found it lacking. Fox delivered her lines with the enthusiasm of someone reading a teleprompter at gunpoint, and the emotional range was somewhere between mildly annoyed and blank stare. To be fair, Bay's scripts never gave her much to work with, but Fox never elevated the material either. Her later work in Jennifer's Body showed hints of better potential, and the film has since gained cult appreciation. Still, Fox is a case study in how Hollywood sometimes values appearance over skill. She's charismatic, but charisma alone doesn't earn you a higher level. Ed Wood. Ed Wood, the man behind Plan 9 from Outer Space, earns a place here not just for his directing, but for his stilted, awkward performances when he put himself on screen. His line delivery was wooden, his expressions mismatched, and his acting so unintentionally bad that it helped give birth to his cult legend status. Wood believed passionately in his art, but passion isn't the same as talent. Watching him act is like watching someone try to play a guitar without ever learning the chords, earnest but painful, and yet his incompetence made him unforgettable. Ed Wood is proof that even the worst acting can leave a lasting mark if it's spectacularly bad enough. Level 2. Bad. Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg has had a fascinating career. He started as Marky Mark, transitioned into Hollywood, and became one of the most bankable action stars of the 2000s. But here's the catch. Wahlberg often feels like he's playing the same Boston tough guy no matter the role. Whether he's in Ted, The Departed, or Transformers: Age of Extinction, his cadence, mannerisms, and expressions rarely change. His infamous line delivery in The Happening,
"What? No!"
has become a meme for wooden acting, and yet audiences still buy tickets. Wahlberg's secret is consistency. He doesn't surprise us, but he gives people what they expect: fast talking, streetwise intensity with a side of awkward comedy. He's not without talent. His performance in The Fighter showed surprising vulnerability, but he rarely strays outside his comfort zone. Wahlberg belongs here because he's reliable, not versatile. Kristen Stewart. Pre-Twilight comeback. Before her indie renaissance, Kristen Stewart was often criticized for her monotone delivery and awkward expressions, especially in the Twilight saga. Bella Swan's constant lip-biting and blank stares became internet fodder, and critics dismissed her as incapable of range. But in truth, Stewart was a young actress boxed into a role written without depth. After Twilight, she reinvented herself in indie films like Clouds of Sils Maria and Personal Shopper, where she proved she could carry subtle, nuanced performances. That later work earned her a César Award in France, and even an Oscar nomination for Spencer. But if we're looking purely at her Twilight-era performances, the ones that defined her mainstream image, she belongs in this tier. She's a rare example of someone who clawed their way out of bad acting territory with persistence and reinvention. Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris built his fame on martial arts, not acting. In films like Delta Force and his long-running series Walker, Texas Ranger, he was all around house kicks and stoic one-liners. His line delivery was stiff, his expressions limited, and his performances about as subtle as a sledgehammer. But audiences loved him anyway, because they weren't watching for Shakespearean depth, they were watching to see Chuck punch bad guys through walls. Norris even became a meme, with the internet creating exaggerated Chuck Norris facts, celebrating his toughness. That cult status solidified his pop culture immortality, but as an actor, he stayed one note his entire career. He's iconic, sure, but when it comes to actual craft, Norris is firmly planted in this tier. Level 3. Mid. Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds has mastered the art of playing Ryan Reynolds. His wisecracking, fast-talking style is perfect for characters like Deadpool, where the role feels like an extension of his real personality. Reynolds thrives in comedy-action hybrids, whether it's Deadpool, Free Guy, or The Proposal. He brings charm, likability, and razor-sharp timing. But here's the catch. When Reynolds steps outside of his comfort zone, the results are mixed. His more dramatic roles in films like Buried showed potential, but audiences often struggled to separate him from his trademark wit. That's why he stays here in the middle. Hugely popular, undeniably talented, but not a true chameleon. Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's career is a study in peaks and valleys. Early in his career, he was mocked for wooden performances in films like Daredevil and Pearl Harbor. But then he shocked Hollywood by reinventing himself behind the camera with Argo, which won Best Picture. As Batman, he divided fans but showed surprising grit and gravitas. Still, his acting remains uneven. At his best, like in Gone Girl, he nails the everyman caught in extraordinary circumstances. At his worst, he looks like he's just waiting for the director to yell cut. Affleck is proof that you can be an Oscar-winning filmmaker and still land in the mid-tier as an actor. Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel's entire brand can be summed up in one word: family. As Dominic Toretto in the Fast and Furious franchise, he became an icon. His gravelly voice, stoic demeanor, and brooding presence define his performances. Outside of Fast and Furious and voicing Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy, though, his range is limited. He shines when he's behind the wheel of a muscle car or giving heartfelt monologues about loyalty. But he doesn't stretch beyond that. Diesel stays here because he's carved out a very specific niche and dominates it, but versatility isn't in his toolbox. Level 4. Okay. Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is beloved worldwide for one role above all: Wolverine. For nearly 2 decades, from X-Men to Logan, he carried the character with grit, intensity, and surprising vulnerability. His farewell in Logan was so powerful, it earned comparisons to Shakespearean tragedy. Beyond superhero work, Jackman has shown versatility in Les Miserables, where he sang live on set, delivering raw emotion even when his vocals faltered. Films like The Prestige proved his range, balancing charisma with obsession. Yet despite his variety, Jackman often feels like himself polished up. His natural charm and physical presence shine through in every role. That's not a bad thing, but it stops him from disappearing fully into characters. He's a powerhouse entertainer, but more star than chameleon. George Clooney. George Clooney is Hollywood royalty, exuding effortless charisma. From Ocean's 11 to Michael Clayton, he commands the screen with charm and sharp wit. Clooney often gravitates towards suave, confident characters, and while he's excellent in that lane, he rarely strays far. His performance in Up in the Air showcased vulnerability, earning critical acclaim, but audiences still saw George Clooney first. He's proven himself as a skilled director and producer too, with films like Good Night and Good Luck. Clooney is reliable, talented, and endlessly watchable, but his persona is almost inseparable from his roles. That keeps him at okay, very good, but not transformative. Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock is America's sweetheart who's thrived across decades. She shines in romantic comedies like While You Were Sleeping and The Proposal, but also proved her dramatic chops in The Blind Side, which won her an Oscar, and Gravity, where she carried a film almost entirely alone. Bullock's greatest strength is relatability. Audiences connect with her warmth and down-to-earth energy. But even in her strongest performances, she tends to feel like Sandra Bullock in a situation rather than an entirely new character. She's versatile, consistent, and undeniably skilled, but her roles rarely push into transformative territory. Level 5. Good. Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron is one of the most fearless actors of her generation. Her performance in Monster was so transformative that audiences barely recognized her under the makeup, weight gain, and physical tics. That role earned her an Oscar and proved her commitment to disappearing into characters. In Mad Max Fury Road, she brought ferocity and emotional depth to Furiosa, a character who could have been one note but became iconic. Theron takes risks, whether it's comedy in Long Shot or gritty drama in North Country. She thrives on versatility, but what makes her remarkable is her total commitment. Whether glamorous or unglamorous, she gives everything. Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal is the definition of a dedicated actor. His haunting role in Nightcrawler showcased his ability to completely transform. He lost weight, changed his mannerisms, and created one of the most chilling anti-heroes in modern cinema. In Prisoners, he delivered quiet intensity, balancing moral duty with obsession. Gyllenhaal thrives in complex, layered characters, and he's unafraid of darker, riskier material. Even in action films like Spider-Man: Far From Home, he elevated Mysterio into something more compelling than the script suggested. His range and commitment place him firmly in the good tier, always reliable, often brilliant, and still climbing. Cate Blanchett. Cate Blanchett is regal, commanding, and endlessly versatile. In Blue Jasmine, she embodied a crumbling socialite with devastating authenticity, winning an Oscar. In Tar, she delivered one of the most complex, chilling performances in recent memory as a manipulative conductor unraveling under her own arrogance. Blanchett's range is vast. She's played queens, elves, villains, and everyday women with equal believability. Critics often say she doesn't just play roles, she inhabits them. While she's already considered one of the greatest working actors, her consistency across decades cements her place here. She makes every project better just by showing up. Level 6. Great. Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep is often called the greatest living actress, and for good reason. With 3 Oscars and over 20 nominations, she's shown unmatched range across drama, comedy, and musicals. In Sophie's Choice, her heartbreaking performance cemented her as a legend. In The Devil Wears Prada, she reinvented herself as a cold, commanding fashion mogul, balancing menace with subtle humor. Streep's gift is disappearing into roles while still captivating audiences with her precision and emotional depth. She can elevate even weak scripts into something watchable. Some critics argue she can be too technical, but there's no denying her consistency and influence. Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is the ultimate chameleon. From Sid Vicious in Sid and Nancy to Dracula, Commissioner Gordon in the Dark Knight trilogy, and Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour, Oldman transforms so completely that audiences often forget it's him. His Churchill won him an Oscar, but his career has been a decades-long showcase of range villains, heroes, and everything in between. Unlike stars who rely on charisma, Oldman vanishes into his roles with uncanny accuracy. His ability to change appearance, voice, and energy makes him one of the most versatile actors ever. Few can match his breadth of work. Christian Bale. Christian Bale is famous for his total immersion into roles. He gained and lost extreme amounts of weight for films like The Machinist, American Hustle, and Vice, where he embodied Dick Cheney with eerie precision. In the Dark Knight trilogy, he gave us a grounded, conflicted Batman. In The Fighter, his portrayal of a crack-addicted brother earned him an Oscar. Bale thrives on transformation, often risking his health for authenticity. Critics sometimes call him extreme, but his dedication pays off. He's unpredictable, daring, and consistently compelling, a master craftsman who makes audiences forget the actor behind the character. Level 7. GOAT. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando changed acting forever. With A Streetcar Named Desire, he introduced raw naturalism to film, breaking away from the theatrical style of earlier generations. His role as Vito Corleone in The Godfather remains one of the most iconic performances in history, a masterclass in subtlety and presence. Brando was notoriously difficult to work with, often refusing to learn lines, but his instinct and magnetism were unmatched. He made audiences believe every word, even when he improvised. Despite later career missteps, his influence is undeniable. Every modern actor owes something to Brando's revolution. Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis is widely considered the greatest method actor of all time. Known for his obsessive immersion, he stayed in character for entire shoots, from living as a frontiersman in The Last of the Mohicans to mastering a butcher's craft for Gangs of New York. In There Will Be Blood, his performance as Daniel Plainview became a cultural landmark. Intense, terrifying, unforgettable. He won 3 Best Actor Oscars, the most of any male actor. Day-Lewis's career is remarkably selective, with only a handful of films, but each one carries enormous weight. His dedication set a standard few can match. Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington combines charisma, gravitas, and versatility like no other. From Malcolm X to Training Day, where he played a corrupt detective with chilling magnetism, Denzel commands the screen in every role. He has the rare ability to make any line powerful, his voice and presence elevating even average scripts. In Fences, he directed and starred, delivering raw, emotionally devastating work. Unlike Day-Lewis or Oldman, Denzel doesn't vanish into roles. He brings Denzel with him, but his version of the character is always riveting. He's a master of intensity and humanity, consistently ranking among cinema's immortals. From Paris Hilton's flop to Denzel Washington's brilliance, we've climbed every rung of the acting ladder. Some thrive on personality, others reinvent themselves with each role, and a rare few define entire generations. Every level tells us something about Hollywood: charisma, failure, transformation, and greatness. So who did we rank too high or too low? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stick around for part 2 of this series.